Okay, now we're doing problem from sample B, number 18. 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 5x plus 6. If you'll notice that we have 5x's on the right side, 2x's on the left side. Let's bring the x's to one side and the numbers to the other. Since this has more x's, I'll bring the x's over to this side. So that's 5x minus 2x. And then here we have a positive 6. I'm going to have to make that a negative 6 on the other side. And then keep the negative 3 the same. You're treating this like an equal sign, except when you divide or multiply it by a negative number, then you're going to need to change the direction of the inequality. Ideally, if you don't have to divide by a negative number, then you wouldn't need to change the direction of the inequality. So that's why I always bring it to the side with more x's. Now let's do 5x minus 2x. 5x minus 2x is 3x. Leave the x the same, and you're just doing the 5 minus the 2. That's less than or equal to. Negative 6 minus 3. Here the signs are the same, so you want to add and keep the sign the same. You can use the number line if you have trouble adding or subtracting. When the signs are the same, you want to add. When the signs are different, you want to subtract. Are the rules for adding and subtracting. Here the signs are the same, so you want to add. And always keep the sign of the larger number. So 6 plus 3 is 9. And that's going to give us a negative 9. We're almost done. We don't have x quite by itself yet. In order to get x by itself, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to divide by the number in front of the letter, divide by the coefficient of x. I'll divide this by 3. That cancels out. Divide this by 3. And now that's leaving us with x is less than or equal to a negative 9 divided by a positive 3. When the signs are the same, it's positive. When the signs are different, it's negative. For multiplication and division, here it's a division. The signs are different. It's going to be negative. Negative 9 divided by a positive 3 is going to give us a negative 3. The solution is x is less than or equal to negative 3. Another way of solving it is where we're going to be using substitution. But before we do that, let's just take a look at the choices. X is less than or equal to negative 3. We had x is less than or equal to negative 3. X is less than or equal to negative 3. That means it cannot be here because that has x is greater than 3. Here x is less than 3. Here x is less than or equal to negative 3. So it's less than negative 3. That's why it would be these larger negative numbers. Notice that because it has that line underneath the inequality, that means that the circle is going to be filled in. So here we see all the circles filled in. Those circles would not be filled in if there was no line underneath, because that would be a greater than or less than, but not equal to. That line underneath symbolizes or equal to. So x is less than or equal to negative 3 is choice C. What we're going to do now is we're going to substitute 0 into the equation, just because 0 is a nice, easy number. If 0 doesn't work, then we know that it would have to be A or C. If 0 does work, then we would know that the answer is either B or D. Since we got the answer C, we're going to plug in 0, and we're going to make sure that 0 does not work. Numbers that should work are negative 4 and negative 5, or even negative 3. Okay, now we have this same problem. We're doing sample B number 18, but instead of using x, I'm going to substitute a 0 in there. So I rewrite the equation, but wherever I see an x, I'll plug in a 0. And now, of course, 5 times 0 is 0. This is going to leave us 6 on this side, and then 0 times 2 is 0, so we still have a negative 3 on this side. And now this is saying that 6 is less than negative 3. That doesn't make sense. So that means that when we substituted 0 into the problem, it did not work. So when 0 doesn't work, that means it can't be choice B and it can't be choice D, because they both have 0 as a solution. Those are both bolded. The ones that can work are A or C, because neither of those has 0 as a solution because they're not bolded. Notice that there's no dark line over it. So since we know 0 is not a solution, we'll be able to eliminate B and D, and we narrowed it down to A or C, which makes sense because we, of course, had x is less than or equal to negative 3, which we know is choice C. If I would have substituted negative 4 into the equation instead of 0, then we would have noticed that it will work. Then you'll have an equation or an inequality at the end that actually makes sense. Thank you for watching, and good luck on the final.